Sorry. This is TMI, you guys. If you're uncomfortable, sorry. We're just being real.
The rallying cry of the perimenopausal hashtag is 100 grams of protein and 25 grams of fiber. That's all I hear. Boom, boom, boom,
protein
boom,
and
boom.
fiber.
Protein and fiber, protein and fiber, protein and fiber, and throw a weight around. But I don't hear, especially when one of the number one things I think women complain about, apart from brain fog, is weight gain.
Yep.
Well, it's weight gain.
You should be
But also, Aarti, remember, weight gain, yes, that's what we complain about, and that's what almost every woman going through menopause will notice. But what's the number one killer of women? It's heart disease.
Heart disease. It seems the most important question every day that we have to answer is this. Did we hit our protein goals for the day? Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Paula Farah Show. I'm your host, Paula, and we are talking about perimenopause all month long on the show. And I'm joined by two fabulous guests, Dr. Jen Ashton, the founder of Ajenda and former chief medical correspondent at ABC. We go way back. Love Dr. Jen. And a new friend of mine, Aarti Sequeira, host of the Food Network, who's just a fabulous human being. This is a series, ladies, and even those gentlemen out there, because we need supportive partners in our lives. We need to be sharing this information with literally every woman we know, because perimenopause can start as early as in your mid-30s. That's when it started for me. I'm going to be 50 in October, and I am still going through perimenopause. So it should last about a decade. Sometimes it lasts longer. I am living proof. But last week we talked about perimenopause, how that's when the majority of the change happens in our body, not before perimenopause and not after, but during. And we know menopause is defined as that one day in our lives. It's if we haven't had a period or a menstrual cycle for 12 months. That is menopause, the day. All that to say, we are diving into this topic of perimenopause all month long. So this week, how do we need to prepare for perimenopause? And look, it's multifactorial and it's protein. Did you hit your protein goals? And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the majority of my text change with my friends, it's us exchanging high protein meals or snacks that we can consume on a daily basis. But it's meeting your protein goals, creatine, it's fiber, it's sleep, it's stress, it's wearing weighted vests, it's lifting heavy weights. Look, we have to prepare for this phase of our lives so much differently than we prepared for anything else. We prepared for pregnancy one way. We prepared for puberty. Gosh, that was so long ago, another way. But how do we specifically prepare for perimenopause? That's where we're going with this conversation. I know it can get exhausting thinking about all the things we have to do because, look, I wish there was a magic pill. I wish there was just one thing that we could do, but there's not. It is multifactorial. And often this time in our life is also coinciding with taking care of our aging parents, being in the sandwich generation, having teens, sending them off to college. There's just so much stress in our lives on top of all the hormonal changes that we're going through as well. Oh, HRT, that's another thing, hormone replacement therapy. Gosh, I mean, honestly, the list goes on and on. But this episode's going to get really real and maybe a little TMI, but we are going there. We are sharing our own stories with how we personally are preparing for this time in our lives. I know most of you listen to this podcast on audio, whether you're listening on your walk or wherever. Thank you so much. But for those of you that watch on YouTube, I'm in some new digs right now. This is my new office. I mentioned that we moved closer into town, closer to our kids' schools a couple of weeks ago, and it has just been a lot. You guys, moving is not for the faint of heart. Not only that, we still own our lake home where we moved from, and we are now renting it. So that's added a whole nother layer of excitement to our lives. Let's just say that. But all that to say, I have not had time to decorate my office. I mean, look, here's an empty box spring, a box spring with no mattress on top of it. We have tools laying on the bed right there. You guys can't see it out of view. My sign, let's talk about it. My little nice neon sign is laying right there on the bed. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'll have time to decorate the office. But for now, this is what you're going to get. I'm sorry. I'm just lucky to show up and lucky to put one foot in front of the other these days. So all that to say, without further ado, we are tackling our second episode of our month-long series on perimenopause with how to prepare for this point in our lives. And make sure you stick around for my takeaways after the conversation. Enjoy, everybody. We're going to pick things up where we left off last week. Dr. Jen, you left us with a lot to think about and just the personal responsibility. So let's talk about that. Let's jump into how we should be preparing for this phase of life. And one thing that you've always said, Dr. Jen, is that it's multifactorial. And I'll just tell you, I feel like I'm on a little bit of everything right now. It's protein, it's sleep, it's our diet, it's stress relief, it's weights. I don't know if you want to pick it up right there, Dr. Jen, or Aarti, do you want to tell us, like, how are you preparing right now for this phase of life? Yes, Aarti, why don't you pick it up, Aarti?
Sure. Let's see. So, I feel like it's a part-time job, how I am supporting myself through it, right? So I'm tracking how much protein I'm eating every day. I'm trying to track how much fiber. I know that you love chia seeds. I actually made sure I had my precious jar of basil seeds right next to me.
Okay.
And I'm for the non-watching audience, I am stroking it like it's a baby. My little basil seeds. So in Hindi, we say tuk Maria, and we actually put it in dessert. And it forms that little gel around it the same way as chia, but it does it in half the time. Not even. It does it in 5 to 10 minutes, which you want to do because it makes it a little more easy to digest. It has no flavor, same as chia, but it has double the fiber. Dr. Jen, you probably know more about this than I do. I'm sure there are other health benefits too, but it has double the fiber. So I do a tablespoon of this in my water every day. I've got electrolytes in my water, but not too much sodium because it might, spike my blood pressure. And then I do, lifting heavy things 3 times a week and trying to walk, and then taking a wee bit of progesterone right before bed so that I sleep through the night because I was waking up at 3 every night.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm taking DHEA during the day.
Wait, what is that?
DHEA. I don't know what it stands for. You do. But
dehydrated hormones, energized.
Yeah, elephant.
Yeah, something.
Dehydrated elephant.
Okay.
Adenoids. I don't know.
It's an androgen precursor.
Okay.
Yes. So they told me it's like it helps. It's the building blocks, right, of your hormones. And that's it for now. Is that everything? I think that's everything.
I'll give you my long list, and I had to write it down.
Yours is long.
Yeah, what's your routine?
Oh, my gosh. Okay. So I take progesterone. I have estradiol patches, which I'm wearing one right now. I have estrogen cream for the hoo-ha. All right. I just started taking testosterone, and I can't wait to talk about that in a couple of episodes because it's out of pocket. You have to justify it, and it's not FDA approved for women. I think that's probably been the biggest game changer for me. I'll tell you why. I'm taking minoxidil for my hair loss. I actually have a hairpiece, Jen. I never wore a hairpiece when I worked in TV.
Welcome to the club.
Yes. Her name is Roz. So I have a hairpiece. I wear a weighted vest. I lift heavy weights. I take creatine, protein. All right. I take this. I don't even know what it's called. It's a green pill. I get it off Amazon. Couldn't even tell you it's supposed to be for stress relief. I sleep with a weighted blanket. And I did pelvic floor therapy, which, ladies, I have to say was probably the best thing that I have done. Also completely out of pocket. But Dr. Jen, I had 3rd-degree tearing with my first and second, and I had to have, and because of that, I also had a shoulder dystocia. So for those listening, sorry, This is TMI, you guys. If you're uncomfortable, sorry, we're just being real. But think of all that muscle tearing. If you tore your shoulder muscle or you tore any other muscle, you'd go to PT. Never was prescribed anything for any of that. So I'm trying to recover on my own. Didn't know. But I went to pelvic floor therapy. I went 4 times, again, completely out of pocket. It has done wonders for my pelvic floor, for my lower back pain, for my stomach, because I also have a diastasis recti, which is the bulge. It has done, I can't even tell you how much good it's done. And I'm also considering going on GLP-1. I think that's it. Oh, I drink decaf coffee after 12.
Wait, you're not using like Grande Lash or something?
No, I'm not using Grande Lash.
Routine.
I'm not tracking my electrolytes, and now I'm concerned that when I dump them in, I'm getting too much salt, and I'm definitely not getting enough fiber. But I don't really have a problem going to the restroom. So
yeah, you might be getting enough fiber.
I think, but I'm good. It's all good. It's good. I feel great. I just want to punch people in the face like every day. My kids are like, Mom's stressed again. For me, it has truly been a coming of rage. But I will say I started most of this a year ago, and I feel at least 68% better. So can you imagine before I started?
I am dying. Literally dying.
and like, so I'm really trying to do the work. I'm trying to get better. So,
okay.
and
All right. Obviously, I feel like I need to address some of this.
You're like, you might be a hypochondriac, Paula.
Number one, I mean, you guys both transparently shared your routine. So I'll also share mine, because I too am living like a science experiment. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
So I would say creatine, yes, not every day, but several times a week. I am on a workout, fitness, wellness program that I actually have been on for 14 months now that became so popular and so impactful with me, and how, as I shared it with my followers, that Agenda actually developed it. It's called the Wellness Experiment, and had over 12,000 women sign up, and the results have been unbelievable in terms of body composition changes, weight loss, inches lost, off medications on the advice of people's doctors, et cetera, glowing skin, sleeping better, but only because I lived it before I developed it for Agenda. And it involves everything that you guys basically talked about, with some subtle changes and slight differences. Attention to sleep hygiene, sleep behavior, sleep science, attention to nutritional science and the dietary approach, which is, yes, more fiber, like 30 to 35 grams a day, which no one gets. It's very...
Why? Can I just ask why fiber? Why is it?
I mean, a variety of reasons. It has a positive impact on your lipid profile. It keeps you full. It kind of works synergistically with protein to affect body composition changes in a complex, complicated way. And people don't get enough fiber. And not only, of course, on the basic level, it's very important to lower the risk of colorectal cancer.
Okay.
So it's good for cardiovascular risk profile, colorectal cancer risk reduction, body composition, appetite, satiety, hunger, hormones. It's very hard to... I probably still am not hitting 30 or 35 grams, but at least the awareness is there.
Okay.
So baby steps. Protein could be a whole hour in and of itself. People aren't getting enough. Talk about a full-time job. That is literally a full... It's to track that. It's the only macro that, as a nutritionist, I believe people should track. But it's literally every single day you're getting back on that protein treadmill.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I got 12 grams for breakfast, or 20 grams in this meal and 30 grams in that meal. And I'm trying to get 90 a day. It's a weight-based calculation. My hair situation, Paula, I've talked about this. I've had my hair since I went through menopause, not to scare you guys, dull, dry, thin. So I'm on minoxidil. I just started a new supplement literally last week. I don't even want to say the name, because if it doesn't work, I don't want people to get excited, but I will report back. I will report back. There's good science behind it. I have a FOPO. She's not in right now, clearly. But
faux ponytail.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with her.
What's her name? You have to name her. Mine's Roz.
Well, she doesn't have a name. It's just FOPO. But I will tell you that not only is it good because there are so many days where I just feel so ugly with my hair being so thin and whatever, but there are also days that we'll be going somewhere and my husband will be like, oh, we're leaving in 5 minutes. And I'll be like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, flip on. And I have this long, blonde, beautiful, like glamorous ponytail. And I'm like, I'm ready.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
Her name's Flo. That's what your faux po should be called, Flo. Or is that too progressive insurance or whatever?
I think that's too period adjacent.
Okay.
I think it could be Mo. Okay. I like the Mo or I don't know.
Hair, Mo hair, Mo swagger.
Yeah, the hair is depressing and it's a problem. Mm-hmm. I do grande lash for my eyelashes because I used to wear eyelash extensions because I thought that was pretty and glamorous and it saved me time. And then I developed an allergy to the glue.
Great.
Oh, that's fun.
What else? I mean, the skin, I have so many like serums and retinoids and stuff on my skin. And it's that actually I feel like is going in the good column, but the crepey skin is universal. It's just universal.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Hormones, I'm on hormones. I have been since I was actually even just before I officially was in menopause, and it was the best thing for me. I totally believe in GLP-1s. I don't really take one, but I have tried them in the past because my husband is on one preventatively. As an obesity medicine doctor, I totally believe in the science with that. I believe in it. It will have a use preventatively, especially for women perimenopause because of the change in body composition and weight. And so what does preventatively mean? Whether you say microdosing or preventative, it means the lowest dose or even lower if that's possible. And instead of being dosed once a week, maybe once every other week or once every 3 weeks. I think that is the next frontier in GLP-1s. I think there's a massive need for that and utility for that and risk benefit. I think it's very safe and there's a big benefit. I mean, it literally becomes a science project when you think of all these things. A company sent me a sleep device that tracks your biometrics while you're sleeping and also adjusts the mattress cover temperature to accommodate for hot.
Jeez. Send that to me.
Well, I'm testing it. I'm going to see if it's good, but it's a whole frontier of things to do.
I had a question about the protein here because, I'm using an app and food journaling every day. But the thing that I had sort of thrown on the ground and not thought about was fat. And a lot of times when I was going, okay, I got to hit my protein, I was like, ribeyes every night. Let's go. You know what I mean? My husband did the carnivore diet for, a year because he has ulcerative colitis and it was helping. But I mean, we had red meat coming out of our ears. And then, once he got on a medication for it, that was one of the things he was struggling with was like all this weight gain. And then, of course, I was experiencing weight gain as well. And I was like, okay, well, let me up my protein and focus on that. But then when I was tracking it in my food journal, I was like, oh my gosh, my fat is through the roof.
Yeah.
So we still have to watch that, right?
It's a very smart and important question that you mention, Aarti, because when people are right now, it's like we have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We have to be able to meet our protein goals and then shift. I mean, think of it like a pie chart, right? There's 3 macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbs. If you increase the protein and increase the carbs and fat at the same time, what's going to happen? You're going to gain weight.
Yes. The pie gets bigger.
That is a fact.
And so does something else. My rear gets bigger too.
Okay. So if you're looking at your protein goals, your target, which is a weight-based calculation, okay, take your weight, divide it by 2.2, and then multiply that by 1.6. That's the number of grams of protein you should shoot for every day.
Yes.
Right?
We're going to do that. We're going to do that.
For me, it's 90 grams a day. Okay. Now, if you do that and you don't pay attention, at least a side eye view for your carbs and your fat, you're going to gain weight. So that means that, and you mentioned the ribeye and the saturated fat, and it's very important because I'm the daughter of a cardiologist. I'm on the volunteer board of the American Heart Association. Saturated fat is not good for our cardiovascular health or our brain. That is a fact. I'm not saying never have steak.
Right.
Be crystal clear. I'm not saying you have to eat plant-based. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you have to pay attention to saturated fat. And the problem in the health and wellness space, as we all know, is that there's the people with the moderate, balanced messaging don't get clicks. Because if you're not extremist, you're just, or simplistic, you're not going to get the clicks, the following, and that's just bad medicine, bad science, bad communication, in my opinion. I know Paula agrees because, we know each other from our time at ABC News. It's not responsible. What's responsible is to say, look, you have to hit your protein goal. You should do that, in my opinion, through a combination of protein sources. Plant-based protein like beans, legumes, soy, okay, all good. Fish, if you like animal protein, eggs, dairy, fine, but in moderation. We get into trouble in health and science when we do almost anything, and actually I can't think of an exception to this, to an extreme. If you do an exercise to an extreme, you get into trouble. If you do anything to an extreme, it can be more harmful than beneficial. And so, yeah, I think you have to pay attention to fat and make sure that your fat is coming from healthy sources of fat. So I'll give you an easy example, and I literally just put this on my Instagram yesterday. Sourdough toast, right? I love it. It's delicious. B, if it's true sourdough without, kind of the yeast that comes from a commercial manufacturing, it actually is a good source of probiotics, right? So
with 2 tablespoons of butter, right? You have to have butter.
So listen, it's interesting.
Don't kill me. You already said no, steak.
Don't worry.
I could eat steak every day and butter every day.
Yeah, breathe.
I made the sourdough toast yesterday. It's almost like you looked at my Instagram. You probably did. And I drizzled extra virgin olive oil and sprinkled a little coarse sea salt on it instead of smearing it with butter, which may have been slightly more delicious, but not as healthy for us. Does that make sense, Aarti? You can't. Yeah. I'm not saying I never eat butter. I do. I'm just saying when you have a choice, if you put olive oil, extra virgin olive oil head to head against butter, there's no comparison which one is healthier for you.
I just thought that it was such an interesting thing because the rallying cry of the perimenopausal hashtag is 100 grams of protein and 25 grams of fiber. That's all I hear. Boom, boom, boom,
protein
boom,
and
boom.
fiber.
Protein and fiber, protein and fiber, protein and fiber, and throw a weight around. But I don't hear, especially when one of the number one things I think women complain about, apart from brain fog, is weight gain.
Yep.
Well, it's weight gain.
You should be
but also, Aarti, remember, weight gain, yes, that's what we complain about, and that's what almost every woman going through menopause will notice. But what's the number one killer of women? It's heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, this is where when
unruly children and an unhelpful husband? Yeah. That's not the number one killer?
I think that's what kills the husband. That's what kills the husband.
So
sorry. I love my family. I'm just kidding.
I know.
We have to think holistically, right?
Yeah.
And body composition is important. And it, by the way, it's related to heart disease, but not in a direct linear way. So when we talk about prioritizing protein and changing our body composition, we can't do that at the expense of clogging our coronary arteries and accelerating cognitive decline from eating a diet that's high in saturated fat. That would be stupid, right? Because we have the ability to live till the age of 90 or beyond now. And we don't just want to be like gorked out and living at 90. We want to be vibrant and living at 90. And so it's much more nuanced than people, in social media try to make it. And, it's people don't like to hear that, but that's the reality.
Yep, totally.
You got to watch it all.
That was a great question, Aarti. I just want to, I think you wanted to ask one more thing and then we'll wrap it up. But I just wanted to clarify, or not just clarify, but reiterate, because I know people are probably going to be pausing and rewinding that section where Dr. Jen, you gave everybody the formula. It is your weight, again, divided by 2.2 multiplied by 1.6. So for me, let's walk you through it. Since we're telling all, I'm 165, depending on the day, maybe 170, divided by 2.2, and then multiplied by 1.6. So for me, that would be, drum roll please, 120 grams of protein.
That's a lot of protein.
That's a lot.
I've had eggs. I've had yogurt that has 20 grams of protein in it. I'm having Chick-fil-A grilled nuggets for lunch. So I feel like all I do is, but I'm trying to eat lean protein. Go ahead. Aarti,
yeah,
you were gonna say something.
we're living like it's 1985 in this house, and there is chicken breast
everywhere
coming out of our, like the Costco doesn't know what what's coming. When we roll up in there, we're like, give us all the organic chicken breast. We're getting out of here.
Yes.
The thing I'm going to tell you how much my protein is. And I'm Indian, which means I'm good at maths. And so for all the maths nerds listening, they're going to do this backwards and figure out how much I weigh.
Okay.
So I'm at 134 grams of protein.
Okay.
So someone's going to have to do the maths to figure out how much I weigh.
Here's the thing. So now you have to ask yourself, and this is where you take a macro view. And I don't mean macronutrient. I mean like 35,000 foot zoom out view, right? You have to look at, and I think this is an interesting exercise and experiment. You know, at Agenda, we're big on the word experiment. And the reason I like that word is because health and health behaviors are not the same for everyone. So at the end of the day, Aarti, you have to experiment with what works for you. Paula, you have to experiment with what works for you. And
I love that.
That's what all of our followers have done. By the way, you can read about this. I have a free weekly newsletter. Free.
Ooh,
great.
It's free, called Join Agenda. And Agenda is like Jennifer with a Jen. But the reason we use the word experiment so much is because you're looking at 120 or 132, you said, Aarti?
34.
134 grams a day, right? Zoom out by the week as to what you're eating, right? And then look at it from a different viewpoint or vantage point or perspective. So look at all your chicken, look at all your eggs, look at how
all the chicken. We're going to look at all the chicken.
And then, and by the way, when you do this experiment, look at it, when I say from different viewpoints, look at it from cost. Look at it from what are you eating the chicken with, right? Like
French fries.
Are you...
Balance.
That flew out real fast.
I didn't tell you that with those grilled nuggets, I'm having waffle fries.
Okay.
Of course.
Like,
dipped in Chick-fil-A sauce.
Right? So then you start looking at cost, calories, saturated fat, and like you would do with your finances, all right, you should say, how can I tweak this? And do I want to tweak it? Right? I mean, part of food, by the way, should be enjoyable, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm actually a big believer in Ayurvedic medicine. And so I love, Indian kind of wellness practices. And, the behavior of eating and sharing a meal with someone is not just to hit your protein target.
No.
Ayurveda.
No.
There's a real cultural part of it. So when you take this view of a week and what you're eating and what you're hitting and what you're not hitting, then you should ask yourself, okay, let me experiment with trying to get those 136 grams from beans or legumes or soy, like those kind of things. Try that. How do I feel? What happens to the number on the scale? What happens to how much it costs me? What happens to my prep time? All of that. That's where the individualization comes into the picture. And unfortunately, you don't hear that often or enough from people.
Right.
It's very important.
That's good to know. You have to do what works best for your body because our bodies all operate differently. So I think that's a good place to leave things before we pick up next week when we talk about the next frontier and GLP-1s and the benefits and weight management and the rise and fall of our belly fat. So, I mean, it's just, mine is like, it's just.
You know that don't your kids call it a fupa? That's what my kids told me, a fupa.
Yep.
That upper pelvic area.
Yep.
I'm like, I'm like caused by you.
Yeah. Thanks, kids. Exactly. You're welcome. All right, ladies, this has been awesome, and I can't wait to dive into our next topic. Okay, I have a hot take and my takeaways coming up in just a second. But if you were listening and you're like, Paula, I need to hear that protein formula again that Dr. Jen shared with everybody. It's this. You take your weight, you divide your weight by 2.2, and then you multiply that times 1.6. Again, divide your weight by 2.2, multiply that times 1.6. So for instance, if you weigh 200 pounds, 200 divided by 2.2 multiplied by 1.6 is 145. If you weigh 150, that's going to mean 109 grams of protein a day. If you weigh 125, that means you're going to need to consume 91 grams of protein per day. So that's the formula to determine how much protein you need per day. to be honest, I haven't been great at tracking it lately because of life being a hot dumpster fire, moving, all the things that we've got going on in our lives. But you guys have to hold me accountable. I got to get back to it. You heard all the things that I'm doing, all the things that Aarti's doing, all the things that Dr. Jen is doing. It is a multitude of things. It is multifactorial. And one thing that has really bothered me, and here's my big takeaway, is that so much of this is not covered. We mentioned in episode 1 that women's health is treated as negotiable often. And I, especially at this time in my life, have found that to be the case. I mean, the testosterone that I'm taking is totally out of pocket. The pelvic floor therapy, which has done wonders for me, by the way, totally out of pocket. And a lot of people can't afford that. So these types of things, it should not be a luxury. These are necessities. And it's time that we try to change the conversation about that. You heard Aarti say that she's actually had a really great experience with her physician, but she pays out of pocket. So every appointment is 30 to 45 minutes. So she's able to spend a lot of time with her doctor. That's not the case. And often we're brushed to the side or we're told that it's going to be totally out of pocket. And that can be really, really frustrating. We have to keep talking about this, ladies and gentlemen, because that's how we change the story. A couple of my other takeaways, that was my hot take. What Dr. Jen said is that you have to find what works for you is so important. What works for me is not necessarily going to be the thing that works for you, although I am going to proselytize and just share the weighted vest and lifting heavy weights and then the protein. I think those are two of the most important things that we can do. But what works for Aarti is not necessarily going to work for me, though. I'm very curious about basil seeds. Spelled like basil. I love how she says basil. I'm going to call it basil from now on. I know I need to get more fiber in my diet. I had no idea the reason why. But again, find what works for you. And Dr. Jen said to experiment. She said, what happens to the number on the scale when you maybe switch your diet to chicken, primarily chicken one week, or maybe you try beans and legumes another week? How much money does it cost? How much prep time? How do you feel? Again, I don't try to get too consumed with the number on the scale because I don't want that number to determine how I feel about myself, though. It's hard. I have to admit, this time in my life, I feel more vulnerable to that number than really ever before. This can be very cost consuming too. Aarti shares she goes to Costco to get her organic chicken breast. We have bought a grass-fed cow from our area in the past. We're probably going to do that coming up here in the near future, which has been a very cost-effective way for us to get our protein as well. Okay, we always take this one step further in my personal newsletter. If you haven't signed up for it, make sure you do so at paulaferrisofficial.com. Again, that's paulaferrisofficial.com. All month long, we're talking about perimenopause. We are going to be talking about testosterone. Maybe that's the game changer, that and creatine. Also, we're going to get real about this time in our lives, how stressful it can be, and that the most common time for women to die by suicide is between the ages of 45 and 50. Ladies, we have to keep talking about that. And that is a dark reality about this time in our lives. But I want you to know you're not alone, okay? And we're going to get to that conversation later in the month. But next week, a bit of a controversial angle to the whole perimenopause conversation. We're talking about GLP-1s, weight management drugs. Dr. Jen shares her take, and then Aarti and I are going to share some things we have never shared before about GLP-1s and our journey with weight management drugs. Okay, that's coming up next week as we continue to talk about it from my very drab office, which needs a lot of help. But you guys, we're going to get there. Baby step, one foot in front of the other. I will see you next week as we continue to talk about it. This has just been a great series so far, and I can't wait to share more with you next week. See ya. I know you guys thought you were done with me, but not quite yet. I have one more thing to tell you about. If you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, don't forget to subscribe to the show. I don't want you to miss a single beat or a single conversation. And remember, my DMs are always open. Tell me what you want to talk about.